Alrighty folks, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be going over the rune and item builds on Urgot that I've been using in Season 12. So starting off with the rune page here, you're going to want to run Press the Attack for the Keystone, Triumph, Legend Tenacity, and Last Stand. The secondary page that I'm really liking right now ever since the durability patch is going to be Inspiration, and you're going to want to run Biscuit Delivery with Approach Velocity. If it's a really easy lane and you don't need the biscuits, then you can swap those for magical footwear. Approach Velocity allows you to land Q on people in lane and actually get in range to E them pretty easily, and you can also use your ulti to catch up to people since it's going to be a 4-second slow, which is going to speed you up for 4 seconds. And then Approach Velocity also works at half effectiveness with your teammates' CC, so it really helps you stick to people in teamfights as well. I've also found on the durability patch, since we're a little bit tankier now, it's a little bit easier to greed with rune pages and you don't have to go resolve anymore to feel kind of tanky. With that being said, if it is a matchup where bone plating is super high value, which I'll post some of the matchups on the screen here, then I do like to go bone plating, usually with overgrowth. If they have a lot of CC, then I'll swap the overgrowth for unflinching. And then for the rune shards, I go double adaptive force, and then if I'm versus an AD champ, then I'll go armor. If I'm versus an AP champ, then I'll go magic resist. And I've actually been testing out HP rune into AP champions, as well as like some mixed damage champs. This rune has always been a little bit greedy since it's HP per level, so it's more of like a scaling rune. But it actually seems pretty good on the durability patch. Since you're a little bit tankier now, you can get away with it a little bit more. It's something I'm still experimenting with, but it seems pretty good. So that's going to be the runes, guys. Moving on to the item builds, where things get a little bit more complicated. I'll try my best to explain this and like every situational thing that I do as well. I'm also going to throw some tips up on the screen because I'll probably miss explaining some things during the video. So starting item for me is pretty much always D-Blade. The only matchups where I go D-Shield are basically Volibear because of his lightning, and then Teemo and Cassiopeia since they're really annoying poke and they have damage over time, so it keeps resetting your D-Shield. But besides these matchups, I always start for a D-Blade and a health potion. So in a lot of matchups with Urgot, you can go for a cheetah recall, which if you don't know what that is, I highly recommend checking out my guide video. I have a really good demonstration of it in there. And if you do this, then you can get a call at around 3 minutes into the game as long as you farm pretty good. So I usually try to do this for a call. And then after this, you're going to want to buy normal boots while you're building into Cleaver. And then Cleaver is going to be the first item. That's what I've been really liking ever since the durability patch. It has a really nice build path. Urgot stacks it up super fast, and it gives you a little bit of movement speed to work with, as well as armor pen, which is much needed right now on the durability patch. The only matchup where I don't go Cleaver first that I can think of right now is Tryndamere, and that's just because you want to survive, so I go for more of a tanky build with Titanic first. And then after Cleaver, you're going to want to upgrade your boots into tier 2 boots, so you have a little bit more movement speed to work with. Depending on the matchup and gold values, sometimes I do this before even finishing my Cleaver. If plated steel caps are like really high value into the matchup and like also into the jungle matchup maybe, or maybe I'm a little bit behind and I can't really play for kills and I just want to play safe. But if you don't finish your boots before Cleaver, you definitely want to upgrade them after, before building into your second item. And the second item is going to be Eclipse if you're doing good in the game. If you're doing even or you're a little bit behind, or maybe you want more wave clear for your matchup, then you can go Titanic second. Whichever one I don't build second, I just end up building third. So Cleaver, Eclipse, Titanic is pretty standard core build right now. And then after that, it gets pretty situational, so I'll try to explain this here. So if they have a lot of AP, then I'll go either Maw of Malmortius or Force of Nature as my fifth item if we're including boots here. If they have a lot of physical damage and I just want to tank up, I've been going at least a Warden's Mail, but usually upgrading it into Randuin's Omen. You can sometimes sit on the Wardens and then maybe go into your sixth item if you want as well. But I've been finding upgrading Randuin's is kind of nice just because it gives you another mythic passive bonus, which if you're going Eclipse, it's another 4% armor pen, so I do find that kind of nice. So yeah, fifth item is either going to be Maw or Randuin's, depending on which one you need more. If you want armor, you can also go for a Death Dance if you're really fed. If they have a lot of armor pen and you don't want to build armor, then you can go into a Stair Axe instead. And if they have a lot of mixed damage and a lot of burst damage, then you can also go Stone Plate as a fifth or sixth item. So yeah, just to recap on the build, since it's a little bit confusing, your core build is going to be boots into Black Cleaver, into Eclipse, into Titanic Hydra. And then after that, like I said, it gets pretty situational. You really want to think about what's going to be good for the game. But the items that I've found the best after that, but again, the order is situational, is going to be Maw of Malmortius, Randuin's Omen, Styrax Gauge, Death Ants, Force of Nature, and Gargoyle's Stoneplate. And I did rank these in order of how commonly I build them. So moving on to alternative mythics, if you don't want to go Eclipse, I think Prowler's Claw is pretty good. It's really good into squishy team comps that won't build a lot of armor, so you can just assassinate them with all the lethality. It can also be really nice for ranged team comps, or if they just have one single threat that you just want to jump on and assassinate to win the game. I tend not to really build Prowlers too much myself. I do think the higher elo you go, the harder it gets to use this mythic, and it's really, really high risk, high reward, I would say. And I try to go for like a little bit more of a consistent playstyle, but I do think it is very strong. When it works out, it can really win you the game. But keep in mind, it also does take a different playstyle. You kind of jump in and kill people rather than playing for like a grinder in a team fight, which I feel like is kind of against my playstyle personally. And I'm also kind of finding this as an issue with Eclipse as well. But the nice thing about Eclipse is it does offer a little bit of defense with the shield and the movement speed. I find the movement speed really nice. And that also gives a little bit of Omnivamp as well, which is kind of nice sometimes. For other alternative mythics, I've been going Stridebreaker sometimes. I would only build this into very mobile team comps or champions that you really want to kite out. I've been liking it for the Tryndamere matchup, since you kind of just want to kite him as much as possible. It makes you a little bit tankier and a little bit faster than Prowler's Claw, so I find it a little bit easier to like position with. I can kind of like weave in and out of fights instead of just completely jumping in with Prowlers and just either killing the guy or just dying myself. So with this, you can position and like kind of weave in and out, like I said, which is nice. Also, if the game goes super late game, you still have a ton of movement speed, even if you sell boots due to the mythic passive, so that's kind of a big upside too. I would still recommend selling boots for Deadman's Plate if the game goes on that long, or either a Force of Nature would work as well with the Stridebreaker build. You'll have like 400 movement speed still. And then the other alternative mythics, I'm just going to say the tank mythics. I think Frostfire and Sunfire are probably the best two tank mythics if you do want to go that route. I found I was trying to do a lot of Frostfire when the durability patch first hit, and I just didn't feel as good going tanky. Everyone's playing scaling champions, and it just feels like you need more damage yourself to keep up with the meta right now. And yeah, people are just playing true damage, scaling, kiting champions. It's really hard to play the tankier builds in my opinion right now. This is still an option though. I think if you get really behind, it's still a decent option to just tank up so you don't feed too much and then try to frontline for your team. But yeah, personally right now, I'm going Eclipse and Stridebreaker the most, and that's been feeling pretty good. They are changing the Lethality Mythics pretty soon here, so I want to talk about that real quick and just talk about maybe future speculations. So I'll throw the Eclipse change up on screen here, but basically they're making the burst damage of Eclipse do a little bit less for ranged champions, and this isn't too bad for Urgot because you don't really get that much damage from that part of the mythic anyway. Most of the damage is coming from the base lethality and then the mythic passive % armor pen. That's really the two big stats on Urgot that feel really nice just because of your shotgun knees. And then they're also adding in +5 movement speed on the mythic passive for every legendary item you have. They're doing this with Prowler's Claw as well. So overall, I think this is actually a really nice buff for Urgot, an indirect buff, I guess, for Eclipse on Urgot, and also Prowlers if you build that. But yeah, late game, we're going to have an extra 20 movement speed once you have full build if you're going Eclipse or Prowlers, so that's pretty solid. Again, you can also sell your boots too for like a Deadman's and still be pretty fast, which is going to be nice. I think into heavy range comps, I might end up replacing Stride with Prowlers if they do go through with this buff, just because it'll give so much movement speed. But I'm not entirely sure on that yet. Like I said, Prowlers can be kind of risky in my opinion, but that'll be something to test out in the future. The last thing I want to cover in this little mini guide is going to be the summoner spells on Urgot. So default summoner spells are going to be Flash and Teleport. The matchups where I do go Ignite in are going to be Darius, Mordekaiser, Gwen, and Trundle. Those are the matchups where I'm really sold on it. You might see me limit testing it in some other matchups, but those are the matchups where I can definitely recommend Ignite over Teleport. And then there's a few matchups where instead of Teleport, I'll go Ghost, and that's going to be mainly just Kayle, Olaf, and Nasus right now. I feel like kiting out Olaf and Nasus is really important, and I feel like getting a lead early versus Kayle is really important as well, so I've been trying to go Ghost just to pressure her a little bit more, and it's felt pretty good in all three of those matchups. I'm still testing out Ghost into like the ADC matchups, and I'm not really sure if it's worth it. It still seems pretty hard to play aggressively in those matchups, even with Ghost, so maybe just playing safer and playing off TP is better. I'm not really completely sold. So yeah, if you see me doing that in a future video, just keep that in mind. Those are the matchups where I'm like really sold on those summoner spells. Like, they feel really good, and I've tested them many times. It honestly feels like into champs like Darius and Mordekaiser, if you want a fighting chance as Urgot, you just have to run Ignite. But yeah, my rule for Ignite is basically, I would only run it in harder matchups that also have healing. I think you also want to be benefiting from that Grievous Wound. But yeah, anyways guys, I just want to get a quick video on current builds and runes that I've been doing. And again, man, if anything, if you see stuff change in my videos, I'm probably just limit testing. Or who knows, maybe I found something better since I released this video. League is always changing and patches, and I'm always figuring stuff out. Sometimes a build will feel really good, and then you play 10 more matches, and then it doesn't feel as good. So there's so many variables in League, man. I really do want to say that just because people will try out a build, and they'll say it's either really bad or really good. But you never know if you had a good jungle, a good team, maybe you're playing well that day, maybe you're CSing better, so on and so forth. So keep that in mind. The stuff that I mentioned today, I have tried out in a lot of games, so I do feel pretty confident in saying that it feels pretty good. But yeah, as always, let me know in the comments what you guys think about builds and runes and whatnot, what's working for you. And yeah, as always, guys, stay safe, God bless, and take care, everyone.
Free.